April 5th, 11 a.m. The helicopter cut through the crisp morning air, its blades a constant thrum against the growing tension in the cabin. Price sat at the edge of the open side door, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Green sat beside her, her laptop balanced precariously on her knees as she scanned the files pulled from Dr. Kane's monitors. "Anything useful?" Price asked, her voice sharp. Green nodded slowly, her eyes glued to the screen. "Plenty. Orpheus remaining assets, safe houses, fallback plans. But there's something else. A black site, heavily encrypted. If this is what I think it is," she trailed off, her expression darkening. "Spit it out, Green," Maria said, leaning forward. "It's their command hub," Green said finally. "The core of everything they've done. If we take it out, we don't just cripple Orpheus. We end them." "Location?" Carter asked, adjusting the strap on his rifle. Green hesitated. "That's the catch. The files suggest it's mobile. A train outfitted with high-tech defenses. It's like a fortress on rails." "A moving target," Tucker muttered. "Perfect." Price's eyes narrowed. "We find that train, and we stop it." "Green, keep digging." "Maria, Tucker, Carter, get ready. We'll need a full assault plan." The helicopter touched down at a remote airstrip, its landing kicking up a cloud of dust. Waiting for them was a small convoy of armored vehicles, their engines rumbling like distant thunder. The team disembarked, their boots crunching against the gravel. "We've got eyes on the train," said a man in tactical gear, his face obscured by sunglasses. "It's heading south through the canyon system. Limited access points, but it'll be heavily guarded." Price nodded. "We'll intercept it at the Narrows. Set up the convoy to block its path." "Green, how soon can you disable their defenses?" Green's fingers flew over her keyboard. "Once I'm inside their system, I can disrupt their comms and scramble their targeting. But I'll need to be close." "Then you'll be close," Price said. "We'll buy you the time you need." The team positioned themselves at the Narrows, a natural choke point where the canyon walls closed in. Carter and Tucker planted charges along the cliffside, their movements swift and precise. Maria set up a sniper position, her rifle trained on the tracks below. "Train's coming," Maria said over the comms. 3 minutes out. Green crouched behind cover, her laptop open and ready. Price adjusted her rifle, her face a mask of determination. "Everyone knows the plan. We hit them hard and fast. No mistakes." The train roared into view, its sleek black surface gleaming under the harsh sunlight. Turrets mounted on its roof swiveled, scanning for threats. The sound of grinding steel filled the air as it barreled toward the choke point. Maria fired the first shot, her bullet striking one of the turrets and sending it spinning out of control. Carter detonated the charges, collapsing part of the cliffside onto the tracks. The train screeched as its brakes engaged, sparks flying as it skidded to a halt. "Move in," Price shouted, leading the charge. The team stormed the train, their weapons blazing. Tucker took out a squad of guards with a well-placed grenade, the explosion shaking the ground. Carter breached the rear car, his shotgun clearing the way as Maria provided cover fire. "Green, you're up," Price said, covering her as they advanced toward the central car. Green scrambled inside, her fingers flying across the control panel. "I'm in." Disabling their defenses now. The train's turrets powered down, their red lights blinking out. The enemy's comms crackled with static as Green's virus spread through their system. 2:30 p.m. Price pushed forward, leading the team into the command car. Inside, monitors displayed live feeds from Orpheus remaining operations. A man stood at the center, his face calm despite the chaos. "Commander Whitaker," Price said, her voice cold. "It's over." Whitaker smirked. "You think killing me will stop this? Orpheus is bigger than one man. Cut me down, and another will take my place." "Not this time," Green said, holding up a portable drive. "We've exposed everything. The world knows." Whitaker's smirk faltered, but his eyes burned with defiance. "Then you'd better pray they're ready for what comes next." Price didn't hesitate. With a single shot, Whitaker collapsed, his blood pooling beneath him. She turned to the team. "Plant the charges. We're ending this." The team evacuated as Carter set the final explosives. The train exploded in a fiery blaze, the shockwave rippling through the canyon. The team watched from a safe distance, their faces illuminated by the inferno. "It's done," Price said, her voice heavy with finality. "For now," Maria said. But he wasn't lying. "Someone will try to rebuild." Price nodded. "Then we'll be ready." The team turned away from the burning wreckage, their silhouettes disappearing into the fading light. Orpheus was finished, but the fight for the future had just begun. April 6th, 5:30 a.m. The glow of the burning train had faded into memory, but its aftermath lingered like a specter. The team sat around a makeshift campfire at the canyon's edge, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. The night air was cold, a stark contrast to the heat of the previous battle. Price stood a few feet away, her silhouette sharp against the early dawn light. She stared out over the horizon, her hands resting on her rifle. Behind her, Green worked on her laptop, the faint hum of its processor blending with the crackle of the fire. "Status update," Price said without turning around. Green's fingers didn't stop as she replied. "The files we pulled are uploading to secure servers. Whistleblowers, independent media, even a few government agencies. By sunrise, everyone who needs to know will have the truth about Orpheus." "And their response?" Carter asked, leaning against a boulder. His voice carried the weariness of a man who had fought one battle too many. "Scrambling," Green said. "The destruction of the train hit them harder than expected. Their network is fractured. Most of their higher-ups are either in hiding or dead." "Good," Tucker muttered, tossing a stick into the fire. "Let them crawl back into their holes." Price finally turned to face the group. Her expression was unreadable, but her voice carried a quiet determination. "We've crippled Orpheus, but this isn't over. They'll regroup. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someone will try to pick up the pieces. Then we'll be there to stop them," Maria said, her voice firm. She adjusted her rifle, her eyes meeting Price's. "We've come too far to let this slip away now." As the first rays of sunlight broke over the canyon, the group began to pack up their gear. Green shut her laptop with a decisive click, slipping it into her bag. Carter and Tucker doused the fire, scattering the ashes to erase their presence. "Where to next?" Tucker asked, shouldering his shotgun. Price unfolded a map, spreading it across the hood of their truck. She traced a finger across a marked route. "There's a safe house about 50 clicks east. It's remote, but well-stocked. We'll regroup there, plan our next steps." "And after that?" Green asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "We stay ready," Price said. "We've shown the world what Orpheus is. Now, we make sure they never rise again." 8 a.m. The road east was rough and uneven, winding through barren plains and rocky outcrops. The truck's engine growled as Carter navigated the treacherous terrain, his eyes sharp and focused. Green sat in the back seat, her laptop open once more. She scrolled through the growing stream of responses to the uploaded files. Headlines from independent media outlets flashed across the screen. "Orpheus exposed. A shadow empire in ruins. Leaked files reveal global conspiracy. The end of Orpheus. Insiders speak out." "It's spreading," Green said, a hint of pride in her voice. "People are listening." "Let's hope they do more than listen," Maria said, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The safe house was exactly as Price had described. Remote and unassuming, hidden within a grove of scraggly trees. The building was small, its exterior weathered by years of exposure to the elements. Inside, it was sparse but functional, with a single room outfitted with basic supplies and a secure communication terminal. "It'll do," Price said, setting her rifle against the wall. "Carter, check the perimeter. Tucker, Maria, inventory the supplies. Green, get that terminal up and running." The team moved with practiced efficiency, their exhaustion tempered by the familiar rhythm of preparation. By midday, the safe house was operational, its defenses reinforced, and its stockpile cataloged. Price gathered the group around the terminal, where Green had pulled up a detailed map of Orpheus' remaining assets. Red markers dotted the screen, each one representing a site linked to the organization. "This is what's left," Green said. Scattered facilities, isolated operations. Nothing like what they had before. Price studied the map, her expression thoughtful. We hit them where it hurts most. One by one, we dismantle what's left. No mercy, no hesitation. And then what? Tucker asked. What happens when there's nothing left to fight? Price met his gaze, her voice steady. Then we find what comes next. And we make sure no one else can do what Orpheus did. The team exchanged determined glances, the weight of their mission settling over them. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, they saw a path forward, a way to ensure that their sacrifices hadn't been in vain. As the sun reached its zenith, the team prepared to move again, their resolve unshaken. They were no longer just survivors. They were the first line of defense against the shadows, and they would fight until the last echo of Orpheus was silenced. April 7th, 6 a.m. The hum of the safehouse's communication terminal filled the room as Green worked tirelessly, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The team had barely slept, the urgency of their mission driving them forward. The map of Orpheus' remaining sites glowed on the screen, each red marker a stark reminder of the work still left to do. I've narrowed it down, Green said, breaking the silence. 3 sites with significant activity. One of them is a central storage hub for their experimental assets. If we hit it, we cripple their ability to regroup. Location? Price asked, her voice sharp. Green pointed to a marker on the map. Here, industrial sector of a coastal city about 300 miles southeast. It's heavily fortified, but they won't expect us to move this quickly. Maria leaned against the wall, her arms crossed. What about the other 2? One's a data recovery center, Green replied. Low priority right now. The other, she hesitated. It's a personnel hub. High-ranking members of Orpheus are regrouping there, likely planning their next move. Price's expression hardened. We split the team. Carter, Maria, and Tucker. You take the storage hub. Green and I will handle the personnel site. Both are critical. 2 fronts. Tucker asked, raising an eyebrow. Risky, even for us. We don't have a choice, Price said firmly. If we wait, they consolidate. And we lose the advantage. The group exchanged tense glances but nodded. There was no time for hesitation. The convoy rolled out under a gray sky, the vehicles kicking up dust as they sped toward their targets. Maria drove the lead vehicle, her jaw tight as she focused on the road. Tucker rode shotgun, his rifle resting across his lap. What's the plan when we get there? Tucker asked, breaking the silence. We hit hard and fast, Maria replied. Take out their defenses, secure the assets, and blow the place. Simple. Simple, Tucker echoed with a wry smile. Sure. In the second vehicle, Price and Green reviewed the layout of the personnel hub. It was a sprawling complex surrounded by dense forest, with a single road leading in and out. Green's laptop displayed a detailed schematic, complete with guard rotations and weak points. We'll need to be surgical, Price said. Get in, take out the leadership, and extract any intel we can find. And if it's a trap? Green asked, her voice quiet. Price's gaze didn't waver. Then we adapt. We always do. 11 a.m., Team Alpha, Storage Hub. The industrial sector was eerily silent as Carter, Maria, and Tucker approached the storage hub. The massive building loomed ahead, its exterior lined with barbed wire and automated turrets. Turrets are active, Maria said, scanning the perimeter through binoculars. Green, can you loop their feed? Green's voice crackled over the comms. Already working on it. Give me 30 seconds. The turrets powered down moments later, their red lights fading to black. Carter signaled for the team to move, their footsteps muffled by the damp concrete. Inside, the air was cold and sterile, the walls lined with rows of reinforced containers. Each one was labeled with cryptic codes, but their purpose was clear: biological and chemical experiments. Let's make this quick, Tucker said, planting charges on the largest containers. No one's walking away with this. Maria's voice cut through the comms. Movement. Guards incoming. Carter raised his rifle. Hold them off. I'll finish the charges. Gunfire erupted as Maria and Tucker engaged the guards, their shots echoing through the cavernous space. Carter worked methodically, his hands steady despite the chaos around him. 11:30 a.m., Team Bravo, Personnel Hub. Price and Green crouched in the underbrush, the personnel hub visible through the trees. Guards patrolled the perimeter, their movements precise and disciplined. "This isn't going to be easy," Green whispered. "It never is," Price replied. "Stick to the plan. We'll take out the guards, infiltrate the command center, and neutralize the leadership." The two moved silently through the forest, taking down guards with calculated precision. By the time they reached the command center, the perimeter was clear. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Price led the way, her rifle at the ready. Green followed, her laptop open and scanning for signals. "Got something," Green said. "Conference room, 3rd floor. That's where they're holed up." Price nodded. "Let's finish this." They ascended the stairs, each step deliberate. The conference room door loomed ahead, and Price signaled for Green to fall back. With a single, fluid motion, Price kicked the door open. The Orpheus leaders turned in shock as she entered, her rifle trained on them. "Game over," Price said coldly. Explosions rocked the storage hub as Team Alpha made their escape, the fire consuming Orpheus experiments. At the personnel hub, Price secured critical intel while Green broadcasted it to their allies. As both teams regrouped, the reality of their victories began to sink in. Orpheus was crumbling, their empire reduced to fragments. But the fight was far from over. April 7th, 1 p.m. The convoy sped away from the shattered remnants of the Orpheus facilities, their successes etched into the team's weary faces. Dust billowed behind them, obscuring the wreckage and the still rising smoke. Price sat in the lead vehicle, her gaze fixed on the horizon, but her mind churned with thoughts of what lay ahead. Green adjusted her laptop, its screen casting a pale glow in the dim cabin. "The intel we pulled from the personnel hub. It's worse than we thought." "Worse how?" Carter asked, not taking his eyes off the road. "They were planning a secondary protocol," Green said. "A contingency for when Phoenix Protocol failed. They call it Apex Surge. It's not about control anymore. It's total annihilation." The cabin fell silent, the gravity of her words sinking in. Maria leaned forward from the back seat, her expression grim. "What does that mean for us?" "It means we're out of time," Price said, her voice cold. "We need to stop this before they can activate it." "Green, where's the launch point?" Green hesitated, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "There's a site near the coast. A decommissioned naval base they've retrofitted. If Apex Surge goes live, they'll deploy bioweapons across multiple cities within hours." "Then that's our next target," Price said, her tone leaving no room for argument. 3:30 p.m., staging the assault. The team reconvened at a remote overlook, the naval base sprawled below them. Rows of hangars and barracks lined the shoreline, their utilitarian structures standing against the crashing waves. Drones hovered in precise patterns, scanning the perimeter, while armed guards patrolled the compound. Tucker examined the scene through binoculars. "They're locked down tight. No way we're walking in the front door." "We don't need the front door," Carter said, gesturing to the cliffs that framed the base. "We can scale the north ridge and come in from the water. They won't see it coming." Maria slung her rifle over her shoulder. "What's the plan once we're inside?" Price unfolded a map, spreading it across the hood of their vehicle. "Green will stay here and coordinate. Carter, you and Maria will disable their drone controls. Tucker and I will breach the command center and neutralize their leadership. We move fast, hit hard, and leave nothing standing." 5 p.m., infiltration. The ascent up the north ridge was treacherous, the jagged rocks slick with seawater. The team moved silently, their gear secured to avoid unnecessary noise. By the time they reached the top, the sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the base. Carter signaled for the group to halt, his hand raised in a fist. He pointed to a narrow maintenance hatch near the waterline. "There. That's our entry point." Maria nodded and moved ahead, her movements swift and calculated. She pried open the hatch, the faint scent of salt and oil wafting out. One by one, the team slipped inside, their footsteps muffled on the metal grating. 5:30 p.m., sabotage. Inside the base, the atmosphere was tense. The team split into pairs, each heading toward their designated objectives. Carter and Maria navigated a labyrinth of pipes and conduits, their path lit by the faint glow of emergency lights. "Drone control should be up ahead," Carter said, checking a map on his tablet. They reached a small control room, its walls lined with monitors displaying live drone feeds. Two technicians sat at the terminals, oblivious to the danger until Maria's silenced rifle cut them down. Carter moved quickly, planting charges on the mainframe. "Charges set," he said. "Let's move." Meanwhile, Price and Tucker advanced toward the command center. The halls were eerily quiet, the hum of machinery the only sound. They encountered minimal resistance, dispatching guards with ruthless efficiency. "Command center, straight ahead," Price said, her voice barely above a whisper. Tucker nodded, his shotgun ready. "Let's end this." 6 p.m., Apex surge neutralized. The command center was a hive of activity. Monitors displayed countdowns, maps, and streams of data, all converging on the activation of Apex surge. A man in a pristine uniform stood at the center, barking orders to a room full of operatives. Price raised her rifle, firing a single shot that silenced him mid-command. Chaos erupted as the team stormed the room, their weapons cutting through the operatives. "Green, we need the override codes," Price said into her comms, her voice urgent. "On it," Green replied. "Give me 30 seconds." Tucker covered the entrance, his shotgun booming as more guards poured in. Price moved to the central console, her eyes scanning the interface as Green fed her instructions. "Override initiated," Green said. "You're clear to shut it down." Price slammed her hand down on the console, and the countdown froze. The monitors blinked out, replaced by the words, "Apex surge, terminated." The room fell silent except for the sound of heavy breathing. Price lowered her rifle, her gaze fixed on the now dormant screens. "It's over," she said quietly. 6:30 p.m., extraction. The team regrouped at the North Ridge, the base behind them engulfed in flames as Carter's charges detonated. Green's voice crackled over the comms. "All systems offline. They're blind, and their assets are compromised." Price glanced back at the burning base, her expression unreadable. "One step closer," she said. "But this fight isn't finished." As the team boarded the extraction boat, the horizon glowed with the fire of Orpheus' crumbling empire. The night was far from over, but for the first time, victory felt within reach. 8 p.m. The horizon burned with the last traces of twilight as the team navigated through a dense forest, the air heavy with the mingling scents of charred earth and pine. Their extraction from the naval base had been clean, but the toll of their relentless pursuit of Orpheus weighed heavily on every step forward. Price walked at the head of the group, her eyes scanning the shadows that stretched between the towering trees. Green followed closely, her laptop strapped securely to her pack, while Maria and Tucker brought up the rear, their weapons held at the ready. Carter moved like a shadow among them, his presence reassuring yet silent. "We're close," Green whispered, her voice carrying just above the rustle of leaves underfoot. "How close?" Price asked without looking back. Green glanced at her tablet, its faint glow illuminating her determined expression. "A mile, maybe less. The signal is coming from an underground bunker. It's isolated but heavily fortified. This could be the heart of what's left of Orpheus." Maria grunted. "They sure know how to pick their hideouts. Middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees. Perfect for an ambush. Which is why we'll hit them before they see us coming," Price said. "Carter, you're on recon. Find us a way in." Carter nodded and melted into the shadows, his movements silent as he disappeared into the forest. 8:30 p.m., the bunker perimeter. The team crouched behind a fallen log, peering out at the bunker nestled into the hillside. Its entrance was framed by concrete and steel, with armed guards patrolling a narrow perimeter. Floodlights swept the clearing, their harsh beams cutting through the darkness. Carter returned moments later, his face grim. "The main entrance is too well guarded. But there's a service hatch on the south side. Minimal patrols, no cameras. It's our best shot." Price nodded. "Good work. Maria, Tucker, you'll create a distraction near the main entrance. Carter, Green, and I will breach through the hatch. Once inside, we regroup and push toward the control room. Any questions? Yeah, Tucker said, a wry smile tugging at his lips. What's the over-under on this being another trap? Price's gaze didn't waver. We've dealt with worse. Stick to the plan. 8:45 p.m., the breach. The forest erupted into chaos as Maria and Tucker launched their assault. Explosions rocked the ground, and gunfire lit up the night as the guards scrambled to respond. Floodlights pivoted wildly, their beams struggling to find the source of the attack. Under the cover of the distraction, Price led Carter and Green to the service hatch. Carter disabled the lock with practiced efficiency, and the heavy metal door groaned open. The three slipped inside, their footsteps muffled on the damp concrete floor. The corridor was narrow and dimly lit, the air stale and heavy. Green consulted her tablet, her fingers flying across the screen. Control room is 3 levels down. We'll need to bypass security checkpoints on the way. Price motioned for them to move. Stay close. No unnecessary risks. 9 p.m., inside the bunker. The first checkpoint was lightly guarded, its occupants caught off guard by the sudden breach. Carter took out the guards with brutal precision, his silenced pistol whispering death. Green accessed the security terminal, her laptop humming as she bypassed the lockdown protocols. We're in, she said, her voice tight with focus. Moving to the next level. As they descended deeper into the bunker, the tension grew. The hum of machinery and faint echoes of distant voices filled the air, amplifying the sense of danger. 9:20 p.m., the control room. The control room was a stark contrast to the rest of the bunker. Brightly lit and filled with state-of-the-art equipment, it hummed with activity. A dozen operatives worked at terminals, their focus on the screens in front of them. Price signaled for Carter to flank left while she and Green moved right. They entered the room like a storm, their weapons cutting down the operatives before they could react. Within seconds, the room was theirs. Lock it down, Price ordered. Green moved to the central console, her laptop connected in moments. There's a lot here, she said, her eyes scanning the data. Plans, backup sites, personnel logs. If we take this down, we take down everything. Then do it, Price said, her eyes on the door. We'll hold them off. The sound of boots on metal echoed through the corridor. Carter took position by the door, his rifle trained on the entrance. They're coming. Tucker, Maria. Status? Price said into her comms. Pinned down, Maria's voice crackled. We'll hold as long as we can. 9:30 p.m., the final push. The first wave of guards burst into the control room, their rifles blazing. Carter and Price returned fire, their shots precise and unyielding. Green worked frantically, her fingers a blur as she initiated the data wipe and uploaded critical files to a secure server. 2 minutes, Green said, her voice strained. Make it 1, Price snapped, reloading her rifle. The guards kept coming, their numbers seemingly endless. Carter detonated a charge at the entrance, buying them precious seconds as the blast sent debris flying. Done, Green shouted, disconnecting her laptop. The system's offline. They're blind. Then we move, Price said. Carter, cover the rear. Green, stay close. The team fought their way back through the bunker, every step a battle. When they finally emerged into the cool night air, the sight of Maria and Tucker waiting for them brought a surge of relief. Took you long enough, Tucker said, a grin breaking through his exhaustion. Mission accomplished, Price said. Let's get out of here. As the team disappeared into the forest, the bunker erupted in flames behind them. Orpheus' last bastion of control had fallen, and with it, their grip on the shadows of the world. April 8th, 5:45 a.m. The blaring alarm was deafening, reverberating through the steel walls of the facility. Red emergency lights bathed the corridor in a pulsating glow, casting long shadows that danced like specters. The team huddled near the sealed exit, their weapons ready, their breathing ragged as tension thickened the air. What's the play, Price? Carter asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. Price's eyes flicked to Green on the other end of the comms. Green, can you override these locks from outside? Green's voice crackled back, tinged with frustration. I'm trying, but they've locked me out of their system. Whoever's running this knew you'd come. It's going to take time. We don't have time, Tucker said, glancing down the corridor. They're going to throw everything at us. Price took a steadying breath. We hold this position. Carter, Maria, cover the rear. Tucker, you're with me at the front. Green, work as fast as you can. We'll buy you time. The first wave came quickly. Armed guards stormed the corridor, their boots pounding against the metal floor. Price fired the opening shot, her rifle barking as she dropped the lead attacker. Tucker followed, his shotgun roaring as the confined space amplified the blast. Push them back, Price shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony. Maria and Carter held the rear, their combined firepower keeping a second group of guards at bay. Spent casings clattered to the floor as the team fought with precision honed by countless battles. They're trying to flank us, Maria warned, her rifle picking off an attacker attempting to circle around. Green, any progress? Price barked. Almost there. Green replied. They've buried their override controls under multiple layers of encryption. I need another minute. You've got 30 seconds, Price snapped, reloading her rifle with practice speed. The second wave was larger, more coordinated. The guards used suppressive fire to advance, forcing the team to take cover behind a series of metal crates. Bullets ricocheted off the walls, sparks flying in every direction. We're getting pinned down, Tucker growled, ejecting an empty shell and slamming another into the chamber. Keep firing, Price ordered. Don't let them close the gap. Carter lobbed a grenade down the corridor, the explosion shaking the walls and sending the attackers sprawling. Smoke and debris filled the air, momentarily halting the advance. Price, Green's voice came through the comms, triumphant. I've got the locks. The door's opening now. The heavy metal door groaned as it slid open, revealing the dimly lit tunnel beyond. Fall back, Price commanded. Carter, Maria, move. 6 a.m., escape and pursuit. The team retreated through the tunnel, their boots pounding against the floor as they moved at a full sprint. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder, the guards reorganizing and giving chase. They're right on us, Maria said, glancing over her shoulder. We need to slow them down. Leave it to me, Carter said, stopping briefly to plant a series of charges along the tunnel walls. He armed them with a flick of a switch before sprinting to rejoin the group. Detonating in 3, Carter said. 2, 1. The explosion shook the tunnel, collapsing part of it and cutting off their pursuers. Dust and debris rained down as the team emerged into the open air, their lungs gulping the fresh mountain breeze. 6:15 a.m., regrouping. The team took cover in a nearby grove, their breaths heavy as they regrouped. Green met them there, her face pale but determined. You made it, she said, relief evident in her voice. But we've got a problem. Price's gaze sharpened. What now? Green held up her laptop, displaying a map marked with blinking red dots. The data I pulled before the lockout, it's not just this facility. Orpheus had contingencies all over the region. They're activating every asset they have left. What kind of assets? Maria asked, her tone wary. Green's voice was grim. Everything. Biologicals, weapons, personnel. It's their final push to regain control. Price stood, her expression unreadable, but her voice resolute. Then we stop them. We take the fight to every last one of their sites and make sure they never get the chance to rebuild. The team exchanged determined glances, their exhaustion tempered by the fire of resolve. The battle against Orpheus was entering its final chapter, and they were ready to finish what they started. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the team moved out, their shadows stretching long against the mountain terrain. The reckoning was far from over, but they would see it through to the end.